For a few dollars more is here on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray, released by Arrow Video. It can be found as a limited edition available at your online retailers. Of the three movies in the Man with No Name trilogy, or Dollars trilogy as it's sometimes referred to, it's one I feel gets overlooked the most. While Clint Eastwood is certainly the main attraction, he shares the screen with the mysterious Colonel Mortimer played by Lee Van Cleef. The two are both peers and rivals, trying to capture the bounty on Indio and his gang. The two play off each other very well, and their strained partnership delivers some excellent banter back and forth. Sergio Leone delivers another excellent entry into the Western dramas, and of course, Morricone's score is prominently featured. If you are a casual fan who has only heard of A Fistful of Dollars and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, give this middle entry a shot. It may seem like the middle child in the trilogy, but it's every bit as good as the other two films, so definitely check it out. For a few dollars more on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray has an aspect ratio of 235:1 with native 4K resolution, and it supports both HDR10 and Dolby Vision. For purposes of this review, I will be discussing the Dolby Vision transfer. Arrow's transfer of For a Few Dollars More underwent additional restoration work apart from the restoration provided for the Kino Lorber discs some years back. In addition, it was color graded for HDR and Dolby Vision. The source to my eyes showed a variety of improvements from the previous 4K, some removal of more than a few blemishes. Grain is medium layered, no apparent management is seen. Bit rates are fairly strong, often hovering above the 80s for most of the duration. Now, this was an interesting 4K upgrade and a bit more nuanced than my comparison for A Fistful of Dollars in regard to the differences in the transfer. I felt that comparison was a bit more cut and dry, but there are some observable pros and cons between the two for this film. For starters, Arrow Video has a darker transfer, though not consistently through the movie. In certain shots, it appears Kino was slightly darker, which I found a bit odd. Depending on your taste, this may be a good or bad thing. I, for one, prefer the more cinematic look from Arrow, but I definitely don't fault the Kino's visual for those that prefer that. The overall resolution appears to be nearly identical from the two transfers. I didn't notice any plus or minus, so for those that are more interested in the detail enhancement that the 4K brings, either version will satisfy that need. Now, where we really get to the meat and potatoes, as it were, is of course going to be HDR and Dolby Vision's application on the Arrow Video version. As previously mentioned, the Kino disc is a somewhat brighter presentation with SDR, and with that, the overall color palette from Kino shows arguably bolder colors. With the grading from Arrow, the visuals take on a more natural appearance. For purists, this may be more of a welcome aspect. As I was not alive when this film originally went into theaters, I can't say one way or the other, but from my perspective, I found the Arrow transfer to be more pleasing of the two. Once again, I don't necessarily take away anything from the Kino transfer, so this may be a case of whatever you personally prefer. I will say, however, is that the black levels are certainly better visually represented with the Arrow transfer. Night scenes arguably look better, as do dark interiors. Shadows also really show more depth. If you have a choice between the two versions, it's easily a case of robbing Peter to pay Paul as to which transfer you prefer. If you like more natural cinematic appearance with deeper blacks, then Arrow is your pick. If you prefer a more consistently brighter image with a smidge of color pop, then Kino wins out. For a few dollars more on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray, supports a 1.0 mono track and an alternate 1.0 mono. There is also a DTS 5.1 audio mix. The first mono mix appears to be more or less the same audio track from the Kino disc, and the second is touted as an Academy Curve roll-off, which claims to limit previous distortions. I tend to gravitate towards the more pure tracks in my film offerings, so I went with the second 1.0 mono, and I have to say I was overall pretty pleased. Of course, there are a bit of spikes in the audio when certain segments of the Morricone score hit, though the gunshots didn't hit the high pitch as they did on the previous mono and 5.1 tracks. Speaking of the 5.1, it's a rather front-heavy presentation and very limited in what comes through the surrounds. Of course, the score is the biggest contributor, but more or less, it still sounded good for the most part. Well, whatever black magic Arrow Video has employed from their A Fistful of Dollars 4K has also reared its head when it comes to the ability of my region-free player booting up the extras. I get the same blank menu screen as I did on the previous release from Arrow, so I'm not able to accurately go over the extras included with this disc. If you look at the features section on Arrow Video's website, there's a good amount of bonus content, and it's a shame, at least for now, I won't be able to partake. But if you are from the UK and have a region player that is able to view the extras, you're in for a treat. For the picture quality, I'm going to give For a Few Dollars More on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray an A. I'm pretty happy and pleased with the Arrow Video transfer of the film, though I wouldn't fault anyone deciding to hold on to their previous release from Kino. For the Aero version, you may have to sacrifice a brighter image and intensity of color, but Aero looks to be a more natural presentation with better dialed-in blacks. Still, if you're a new buyer or want the upgrade anyway, this is a really good-looking transfer. The audio, I scored it a B+. There are essentially 3 audio tracks to choose from, and each one offers something good for fans of the film. The mono track, the second one I mean, is probably the closest we get to a in-theater at the time experience, but the 5.1 also offers its own benefits. And since I'm not accurately able to judge the included bonus materials, I'm not able to fairly give it a letter grade for this review. There's a good amount listed that sounds interesting enough, so if you're able to access them, I think you'll enjoy what's here. So that is my review of For a Few Dollars More on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray from Aero Video. If you're interested in picking up a copy for yourself, I will leave a direct link in the comment section, but if you have the disc already, let me know your thoughts down below. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So until next time, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. I will see you at the movies.